I walk in with my contractor, they will look up to him. That's the first thing that happens.
And you're the architect.
And you're the designer. That's where a lot of things adds up, okay? So me as a person has evolved and changed over the last 4 years. And there have been men in my life who have called me bossy. Because you have to understand, right? I am
don't
not
show the power.
Yeah,
Don't show
no
that.
one's gonna listen to you.
Nobody is gonna.
There are men following me around, expecting me to, tell them everything, and I have to make sure I command and hold that respect, that authority, and that I know it.
You know how we usually think of design being all sharp lines and edges? This episode really shifts that. With Megha, founder of MMD, we explore how she brings in the whole sense of flow, softness, and femininity without compromising on clarity or strength. We also get into how different design styles can actually sit together, balance each other, and create something that feels layered and honest. She also shares a bit about Curious Connect. This is a platform she is building to make it easier for designers, architects, and artists to actually connect, not in some forced formal way, but through real conversations. Towards the end, we get into some of the difficult personal stuff too, like being women in the industry and how that shaped her journey. So, yeah, stay till the end. It's just not about ideas, but real stories too.
The first question I want to start with, you're juggling with like 100 things there.
I wouldn't say 100 things. I like to push my limits. I like to explore the capacity that I have. So, not saying that's necessarily the best thing one should do, but right now I think it's a phase where I'm learning a lot, and I am a person who needs to learn constantly. Growing up, I get easily bored. I have a very, my parents always said as a partner also, you need to find a person who has these personality disorders. Otherwise, you'll get bored of
But disorder, right?
Yes, disorder, because I get bored, and I always wondered, what kind of profession should I choose, because I get bored. I can't do the same things after I have cracked it. So I feel designing brings that. Every space I design is different. Every client I deal with is different. So that brings in the difference.
How do you make every project different? Isn't it like
It's not. It's sometimes some projects are similar. It's okay. There's no harm. So I don't believe that every project has to be very different. It's not about me, how much I only bring to the table. It's really about how I'm delivering what the client wants at times. Right? So if they want something similar, why not?
Right. I mean, also there could be factors like, number one, there are different sites and different sizes, different people you're serving. That already is bringing the differences. And then how do you get like your element, and how do you make it different, like the sense of design?
I am a person of contradictions. Okay, I love bringing two opposite things together and blending it. So I feel that brings in interest. Layering opposites bring in a lot of interest, be it colors, be it design types, be it spaces, bringing flow to rigidity, or bringing a pop of color to a very neutral space. So bringing in some opposite and clash brings a lot of interesting space.
Right. So in terms of colors, I think we understand layering fine. But when you say layering with styles, what does that mean?
So so at times we think that when you're designing a space, it has to be contemporary modern, they go in together, or say boho chic, or art deco. There's so many types, right? But for me, I try to bring in the opposite ends.
Right.
So say traditional with a very modern design together. So I like to blend contrasts like that. Also, because of the fact that when we are designing a space, it's not just about us as designers, but it's a lot to do with the client, who the client is, where they're coming from, personifying their characteristics into the space.
Yeah. Isn't it like when you're getting to a client, yes, there's a lot about client, but then your personality, your say design, how do you push that more? Like it has to like at some point take over, right? Like it can't be only client, only space and everything about that.
Yes, 100% I agree. I used to think that way maybe a year before, that what I am designing should be there. It's amazing, it's wonderful. But design is so subjective, and at times we need to step into the client's shoes to understand why it doesn't work for them. And I know as designers, and especially if we are so passionately driven by it and we're designing, and say it has taken us an hour to design that bed, like work on it, or maybe a day, who knows. But the client says, no, this doesn't work. It hurts, right? It really hurts. But then we have to step out. And I have learned this in just a year's time, that you have to step out of that and understand why is it not working for them.
Right.
And maybe come up with a solution that works for both of you.
Okay.
So I feel, as much as I like to put the design language out of who I am as a person, it's a lot to do with who the client is as a person. So it always evolves that way for me. Some clients give it to me. Like they are like, you do what you want. It's your space, you do it.
Those are the best clients.
Those are the best. But sometimes, again, I believe the clients who, question your design, sometimes you at the end start liking what you got, the end product.
Right.
So that also brings in a lot of interest.
I feel like it also kind of sets like a framework for you. Otherwise, like there's so much to do and like so many things to explore. It's kind of complex to break it down and say, why will I do this here? And then we get confused a lot.
Yeah.
The moment a client comes in like, acha, I think this one, then you get validated ki this is the direction I can take.
Yeah, and also it's the hardest when the clients trust you the most. It's very hard to design spaces. It
Why
takes
do you
me the
think?
longest because it's on you. There are 100 things running in your mind. You could do the space. No, this, no, that. When the client shows the trust in you, you somehow take it on yourself to give the best outcome.
Yeah.
Because you are like, they're trusting me blindly, right? So at times you get so looped and involved with that you like get so confused. So they're very hard, to design spaces which have.
Last question I will ask about client is when do you say no to them? Like, this is nice, yes, and they're doing, saying, yeah, go ahead. But when are you like, okay, fine, this, I draw a line, I cannot.
There's so many things I draw lines on. I mean, I tell my clients all days when I'm starting that you have a problem, tell it to me then and there. We will figure it out, we will sort it out. It's just like any other relationship, communication. So I draw a line when clients try to show me, oh, unke ghar mein to aise kiya tha. They did it like that. Oh, I want exactly something like this from a Pinterest picture. When they're very rigid and they try to test you out, I say a no.
Right. Have you had backed off from a client saying, I can't take this project?
Yes, so many. Can you believe, like, I am at a very starting phase. I'm nowhere, right? I believe I have so much to do and so much to learn.
You're somewhere, you're not nowhere, but yeah.
I just did, let's just say that that's how I see it. I see so much. And and in the beginning of my career, I have said no to so many people because they don't match up with the design. I'm not saying particularly this is the right way to go about it, but I had clarity since the very start on what kind of a niche I want to work with, right? What kind of design language that I want to work with, what kind of people I wanted to work with. For me, it's important that I have one happy client whom I'm dealing with rather than two clients who are taking away my sleep.
Right.
So very clear since the start for me. So that has its own consequences. Huh? Those choices are not easy like it's sounding right now. There have been days where I've doubted that am I doing something wrong because of it. You know, because you don't have that continuous client inflow.
Right.
Because you're choosing your clients. But let's just say that that's worked for me, and I am getting clients that the niche that I wanted always.
Right.
So I have said no.
How long did it take to get here?
2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not bad. I know,
Yeah, that's not bad.
but there have been bad days when
I'm sure it is.
yeah, because as I said, it's not continuous inflow of projects when you're
Right.
choosing, and sometimes for paying your bills, it gets tough.
Right.
But yeah, and it's subjective. But I have drawn a line with the client when they have tried to test me or they've not trusted me with the vision. It's just that it's not that they're bad clients; they're just not for me,
Right.
right? You choose.
So where did you learn? As in, like, did you intern before, or like, do you work at somebody, or like, this was like your first thing you want to do something off with it?
See, I know I've met hundreds of architects, designers, and people who have always chosen and said that, oh, but you should have worked before. Oh, but you should. I agree. There are advantages of working. Like, for example, setting up your own studio, business side of things gets very easy when you have seen that happen somewhere else. You learn from their mistakes and you catch on to those things. For me, the journey has been, I have always wanted to get my hands dirty first. And some clients have really trusted me at the start of things, and that has helped me. It has taken me time to figure it out. But yes, I've not worked before. I have collaborated with someone of more experience and done projects with them. That's where I've learned how the process of design works in real life. But I have not worked for a company. And that has a good side to it. That has a bad side to it.
So what's the bad side of it?
It takes you time to figure things out.
Right.
You have to do it on
Then you fall and you learn, but you learn not more than a company, no? Because a lot of it's a cushioning kind of thing, right? If you're working for something.
It depends on where you're working, but I can say that sometimes if you knew that that would get you into trouble, you would have avoided it altogether. So that's where the challenge is. But for me, what's worked is that I have had the freedom to explore and glow as a designer because I figured it out on my own. I didn't have anyone telling me, no, but you have to do it this way.
Right.
This is our way of designing in our studio and you have to follow that. No, I am much more open to different design languages and perspective and have figured out my own design languages instead of adopting to someone's who have been working.
That's very fair. Because I feel like when you start working for somebody and you have like this kind of respect for this person, right?
Yes.
You're like, okay, I have learned this and I need to implement these.
Yes.
It's like how when you're born and like whatever you've been through, you
Yes.
pick up designs from that as well.
Yes.
And then you pick up these very, I don't know, like element of their design. And then you start
100%.
putting that everywhere.
It's 100% true, and it's a very subconscious, unconscious, and that kind of a behavior pattern. You don't even realize how you have picked up those things and put it into this.
Yeah.
So, I think that's what's worked for me. I haven't picked up anyone's design language. I have my own ways, and I have explored on my own what works, what kind of a designer I am.
Yeah. I feel like it's very important to say that there are thousands of paths and you can choose any.
Any
Stop
100%.
like going to like I need to do this. There are like set ways. I don't think there's any set way for design. I think a lot of people, like I was just speaking to another friend of mine yesterday, and he knew that he could design or like do art, say in 11th or 12th or like 8th standard, and he could start there. Right, so he didn't need like a college degree. Yes, of course, like maybe the technical drawings and stuff like that, and that I can start learning fine in college. But you have so much more clarity, But then I feel like for as me as well, it was like the process of like failing by myself and then learning.
And some of us are like that. If someone, like, it's our own characteristic trait. To be honest, there's no right and wrong ways. There's always a way that works for you. You need to figure that out. You can listen to 100 people and be like, oh, let me try and implement that. But it don't work for you.
So when we're talking about hundreds of people talking, let's go to Curious Connect because you guys are getting hundreds of people are in room to talk about design.
Yes.
How's that?
Um,
How did that start, bro? Like, so I'm so curious about it, and I've attended like 2 events now. I love the kind of people you guys are getting. I have been going to a lot of like say startup events, but I did feel like in place there. I like it. I like the vibe, but like I think I am a designer at core. I'm a problem solver at core, and like I need my community. And kind of felt that okay, I could speak to people there.
I'm so glad because, see, we never marketed ourselves, but people have to feel that, when they're in that space. So it's a very interesting story. So we are 3 co-founders at Curious Connect. And how we met is quite interesting because all 3 of us, though we have a history of sharing same colleges and stuff, but we never spoke then. Never. And it's funny how the universe works for you. And we 3 walked into this design event, actually 2 of us, and then the third person was introduced. And we 3 walked and we felt so out of place. It was great event, like you said. There was a speaker that you admire. Everything is great, okay? But it felt so out of place because everyone were very comfortable in their own group networking, and no one really knew you, and no one really approached you. It never felt approachable. It felt
Feel like the inner circle there.
no, it's not even about inner circle, right? When you're going to these networking events, you don't know anybody, but it's about the comfort at which one person can open up.
Do you think that these conversations on stage are also changing, like how you're feeling around after?
In what sense is it?
Like when, see the difference between Curious Connect and all these events is when you go to, say, a startup event or like design event, it's very much like the person who's on stage, and that's about it.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about Curious Connect, we didn't know what we are doing, but we knew what we are not doing. We were very clear. And we 3, and that event, believe me, we 3 sat down and we were like, no, we need to do something about this. We never ever want someone to feel so out of place, because if we are feeling it, there are hundreds and thousands other who are feeling it too. It's nothing special. So we want a space where people belong, where they feel like their challenges are actually being addressed, and where they can talk to each other at a comfort and ease without feeling intimidated by the other person. So that is the kind of space we wanted.
Right.
And that's where the thought started, and we didn't have it all figured out, but we knew we wanted the space. So that's when we started talking, and our first event was, we called in the close group of maybe 15-20 people, architects and designer. When I say people, for me, people are them. So we call them and we ask them what are the challenges they're actually facing. You are starting your studio, you are thinking of starting your studio. What are the list of challenges? We spoke to them at great lengths about each things that they were facing, and those are the problems we wanted to address. Those are the things that we wanted to capture that could help them and overall everybody,
I think you guys are conveying that like very well, because like this last event with MuseLab,
Yeah.
it was so good. Like I think everybody's admired them, right? Like their work, they're
Yes.
brilliant. But it was so human to like see him there and the way he
Humbling.
spoke. Yeah, humbling experience, and like it felt like like I understand. It's not like you're some magician out there and like I don't know, or Buddha, or like I don't know, some enlightenment happened and then you changed and flipped and now you can just design. It isn't.
No, I think we
Right?
spoke a lot about the things like financial crisis, bad days, tough clients, because he kept saying that it's a myth that we don't have those. Everybody has those.
I mean, the whole point was like the way the conversation is set up or like the stage is set up and how people are around. You can just see the human side of it,
Yeah.
right? It's not like this great designer and like putting him on a pedestal and all of that. And of course, he is really humble.
Yeah.
And that, of course, helps.
So that's the kind of speakers we try to bring in. We are very sure with the kind of people we are picking up, because we tell them at the start, we want you to be honest, real, and as raw as possible.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to see, we already know the glamorous side. Everyone's showing a glamorous side. We want to see the real side, how it happens, how it works, and we want people, because there are really tough days when you're starting out and you have to figure 100 things out. You are an accountant one day, you are a designer the other, you are a carpenter the next. I don't know, but we are everything. When you are starting your business, you need to have your hands into everything. You are social media marketing some other day. So it's very wide, and some days you really are like, is it all worth it? As much as you are passionate and you're loving what you're doing, but is it all worth it? Because it's so much, it's too much. And when you hear a journey where it's been like that for them at that moment, but they broke free from it and they broke out of it, you feel hopeful.
Right.
And that hope is validated. And we want to make sure that as much as there are glamorous side, you see the bad side.
100%, I think the validation's coming. I feel like we can connect, the Curious Connect, we are fitness and we are connecting with this world.
The name is invested,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
And also it's about networking, Curious
Yeah.
Connect is about the people.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure that every person that walked in felt like they belonged and they were comfortable and they left with that feeling.
Yeah. I feel like your sponsors or say like the people who are there, like when you posting was also so interesting.
Yeah.
Like for me, say I have Diosh from the interior design. I've done it like say 6 or 7 years, but architecture like a long back. Like just coming to that whole space and seeing what's happening generally on a market scale or like I'm just like happy. Like dude, like so much happening. I see other people and so many young people just coming with energy saying, okay, I just want to see what these people have done, right?
Yeah.
Like, and how can I learn more? And how can I think it's very inspiring, like the whole space when we meet, like all of us. Right.
Yes, also like we have very different formats of events,
Right.
and we try to do very different stuff with every event.
By now we spoke about like what you're doing at the studio, the other part is Curious Connect. But then like when did you actually know that you're a designer? Like
Designing came very natural to me. So what happened was, when I was a child, there was empty spaces. I didn't know it was called a plan and a plot. I used to just draw like boxes and try to design my own room, my dream room. And I'm not even kidding. I wanted like this pink room.
wait, how old were you?
Quite young, man. Around 7, 8 years old.
And you're sketching plans.
I didn't know it was called plans until a few years ago. So I used to draw that box. I didn't do a double line, okay? I just did a single line.
Double line, Dixie.
Yeah. So I did a single line and I used to be like, I want my bed to be round. I want like pink curtains there. I want this.
Right.
So I used to imagine those things.
You were born for interiors and architecture, no?
Honestly, as I grew up, I wanted to become a psychiatrist.
Okay.
So, very different, I know. And I did take up science. I did take up science because I was very, very influenced by how human brain work. How psychological thinking and how it worked. I was very intrigued and I'm still intrigued. And I love to bring that to my design.
Right.
So it's all adding up.
Do you have like these therapy questions with your client if they're I will
It's
understand
on
your brain.
situations.
Okay.
It's on situations.
interesting.
It depends on the client. It depends. But yeah, like circling back. So I was very natural at anything creative. Then I wanted to be a fashion designer because I love clothes. Okay,
What did you not want to be?
I didn't want to be an engineer. It's a very technical field for me.
But I am good.
For me, it's very technical. I'm not that technical as a person. So that's how it started. And when I didn't see fashion working out for me, or nor did I see. So science, I took up science. It was something that didn't come very natural to me. So I decided to do something that was very natural, which was designing.
I'll tell you like really interesting story. Architecture, how that happened. So one of my young kids, when I was very young, he told me, you know who architects are? These guys will read your mind and then design for you.
Wow.
So when you're just telling me right now ki this happened, you were sketching, but then you're like psychology and like how the brain works. And when he told me that, I was like, this I want to do.
You wanna?
Very young. And then I'd forgotten about architecture fully.
Yeah, that
And then
happens.
architecture happened, like, how will it happen? But it's very nice way to put it, like, who architects are, right? And I think that just stayed in me. It's like, I just want to understand people. So for me, I love talking to people. I want to understand who you are. I'm very
Yeah.
curious as a person.
Yeah.
And then design is like, I can give you answers. It's not only like a conversation, but I understand you and then I can do something with you feel. Through this, I think you were also talking about like say clients and then emotions and stuff like that, right? Like it's just not like stopping at कि मैंने बात कर लिया and then I do कि
Yeah.
same design, but like I'm understanding the clients because if they get into a space, they feel a certain way. It's not only ki this design, that
Yeah,
design is
it's
fancy,
not about you.
modern, contemporary,
Yeah.
and even like my design. It's not only about all these things, but also what will I feel at the end of the day means it, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And see, I'm gonna maybe get in a lot of trouble saying this. Let's go, but I wanna say it out there. There are all kinds of designers out there. Some who focus on very business and commercial part of things, where they don't give a lot of attention. They're doing a good job, but not maybe it's a very copy paste from Pinterest, which is fine.
Fine, they're clear about making money.
They're clear about making money, and that's nothing wrong, to be honest. They're doing great at business, and that's something I want to learn from them. Then there are designers who are very, very passionate and who are actually going to great lengths to create that space. So I was always all in for that. At times, that's where a problem happens is I let the passion driven side in me take over the business side in me. I need to find that sweet spot.
I was about
Yes.
this is the next question. And you know, like Sarah, we were talking about this like so, like in a very intense manner. Like, should you just be passionate and not think about like how the business end of things are working? Because we designers that are so emotional, right? Like if you sit in front of the client, you just want to do something really great, and you're like, I want to put my heart out there, and then the money comes, and you're like, now you're sad. Like then you're operating from this very negative. Like you will of course like put it on side and then work, but it's there, right? It's existing.
So, as I said, I built my niche. So, say if someone asks me what's my goal, I have always wanted to do quality work. For me, it's not about 20 projects that I did in a year. I am happy with 10 projects, but my work has to be that good in every project. And it takes time. To be working with me, the client needs to have a lot of patience. I tell them this, I brief them that you
But
need
don't
to.
you think that also comes from like a privilege? Ki, "Okay, I can take up 2 projects and that's fine, right?
As I said, it's very subjective on
Yeah.
people, their situation, everything. For me, it's been like
Yeah,
this.
it worked out for you.
It's worked out for me.
Perfect.
It might not work out for someone else because they might have some commitments, priorities, right? And you should 100% cater to that.
Yeah.
For me, the priority has been growing as a designer.
Right. Yeah.
So I have taken that step. And as I said, it comes with the good things and the bad things. Right? So I have faced consequences where for a month I am without work. And I'm like, what do I do? So I have faced those consequences.
What have you done then?
I've tried to build the business side of things then.
He has so many things to take care of, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not just this. So when we say business has so many chapters.
Oh yes. For me, it's been social media. Say I focus more on that, or I have focused on setting up, processes, figuring the processes out.
How
Or
long it taking to understand this philosophy?
I'm still not there. So I will take some time. I am figuring out the designer side of things right now, and I'm being honest about it. To figure out the business side of things, I need some more time.
Yeah.
Where I can find the sweet spot between.
Do you think we should also hire somebody or like partner with somebody who can like?
Partnership is a very tricky thing. It might work out great for you, or it might really. I have done partnership before. By the way, before founding my studio MDD, I have co-founded Studio Dwe. So I have already had a failed partnership. We did it for 2 years. I learned a lot from it, but it failed because we had different priorities and different ways. So yeah, partnership is a very big.
I feel like partnership is like a marriage.
It is. It is.
And you are given 100%. Like there's no coming back from it. And like,
yes.
and it takes a toll on you. And like if it works out, it's best. Like see Muse Lab, right? Like, they worked out.
There's so many partners that they work out great.
Yeah, but you
but
need to like, and if you don't feel good, like I think you need to step back as well.
yeah,
You don't want to struggle through it.
Yeah. Don't. It's. I would suggest that you should only take on to partnership only when you're fully ready to let go of who you are at times and what you envision. You will have to figure out your goals together. It can no more be, oh, I see this. You have to remove the I from it. You have to let go.
We.
Yeah, it's
What
we,
our vision.
and we is not easy.
I think design-wise, I have one more question to you. What does the feminine side of you bring to the design? Because I feel like I have been talking to a lot of maid architects, and they're great. Like I'm not saying.
Of course.
But being women, what does that bring to the table? Is there a difference, or like are we designing similar spaces?
I feel there's a difference, right? Our brains work differently, we are wired differently, and our hormones work differently. You know it all.
Yeah.
So I feel as women, we tend to bring out a lot of softness in the space at times. Because what is home to us is somewhat very different for how it is for a man at times. And I'm not saying they can't think that way, but we get into nitty gritty of things of how we have grown up at home, and we try to bring in softness, warmth, the colors we choose. So when someone comes home, they feel safe, they feel positive. So I do feel that
Do you feel like we've had these masculine designs because the whole industry has been owned by men for a long time, right?
yes, men
Long
have.
back.
So I am not gonna say I'm a feminist, and but I am for women because I know how women have struggled to be anywhere at all.
Yeah.
The internal battles that they have fought, I have fought. Honestly, I know that there have been worst, but I know how difficult it is to be breaking those glass ceilings and sitting here today or sitting anywhere today, like doing great job. So it has been man's world for a longest time, but I'm so happy to see how women entrepreneurs and they are catching up, and they are doing such great job in design field.
Like, I think there are two cases to it, right? The design end of things and the struggle bit of it. Right?
Yes.
The design end of things, I feel like, as you just said, women have been caretakers for the longest of time, but they've not been the designers.
Yeah.
Right? So older houses, I think women were still there, like making the house by themselves and like cleaning and like doing all these paintings inside it. But say industrialization or like few hundreds of years, I'm not sure, I can't give a correct number. But then it has been just like these rectangles and boxes and the edges and the corners, and
Yeah,
I'm not saying anything's wrong. They're beautiful designs with edges and corners.
I feel like the designs that were done before were much more, that had so much character. Like the buildings are beautiful, right? I feel this is a very recent thing where we as designers have become lazy in the name of less is more. I'm sorry, but again, a controversial opinion. Less is more is a very lazy designer's thing, according to me. Now, again, it's subjective, right? There's beauty in that. But I feel there's so much beauty in bringing complexity, layers to design. I mean, we humans are not that simple, but are simple as people. But our processing of things have so many layers in them. And
And our spaces have become frameworks, I feel. Like just like these white boxes with black frames.
when I see these IT offices, I feel so sad for them. Are they really
And we
motivated
sit there
to
for like
work?
whole day, right? Like most of the time, your life is going in these offices.
And it's so sad. I'm like, dude, you need to let me design this space, because how do you feel? Like, if I had to work there for a single day, I don't think I feel depressed.
Yeah.
I'll feel
No,
depressed.
100%. So it's like a machine, right? You're going there like a labor work. You're going there, these are laptops in front of you, you just work, and this whole thing looks like on rectangular box
Yeah,
with printed
those
sheets.
carpets, that light, such dungy places. No, I'm sorry, but
How do you be creative? Like for them to work over there and be creative in the power, very difficult. I feel.
yeah, for me, I feel damn sad for how buildings have evolved in the name of modern buildings like glass facades. No, of course they're great buildings like that. I'm not saying they're not, but if you see every other building when you go down this road, it's just that boxy building with the glass facade, FCP boards, and like it's very common, and it's sad. It's sad because there's no character to it. No one can say anything about it. There's no character to it, and I honestly feel like I don't belong there. And that's how it's been. And I feel as a designer, we have the power to influence how people think.
Let's pull you back to the question about women and men, right?
Yeah.
Not fighting, but like
No, guys,
Yeah.
we're not against you.
yeah. No against men for sure.
Yeah.
So the second part was, one is the design bit, right? Like the femininity, like we
Softness,
are in
yes.
softness. So you spoken about this before as well, right? Say corners, curves.
Yeah,
face,
so
and
I will share an experience with you. Like my recent project that I'm designing right now, it's a bungalow in Jayanagar. It's around 10,000 square feet or so. And the client, okay, he's super nice, everything. And the only thing is he wants a very, very straight line, very masculine colors, very gray, very, very masculine, man. Like when you enter that space, you feel like, oh, this is a bachelor's pad.
Yeah.
Like you will get that feeling. That's the kind of pictures that he's been showing what he wants, right? Very typical. So it's been a constant thing where I am showing him a very softer kind of design where it feels home, it feels welcoming, and it feels like yes, it feels like it's coming from their personality of how they grew up.
Right.
So I try to blend how they grew up, their culture, into the design.
I feel like you're getting the comfort bit of the.
Yeah, because we always, we humans, we have these nostalgias. We have the power of smelling something and going back to the moment which were 100 years ago, maybe not 100.
Like their childhood.
Yeah, childhood. We have the power of feeling something and thinking of something else. So it's beautiful. It's complex and it's beautiful. So I want to evoke the feeling.
Sensory experience.
Yes, sensory experiences, and it's so important, and to give that home a personality of who you are as a person, along with me as a designer on how I view it. Right? So it's been tough battle with him because his designs are extreme opposite to what he envisions, and mine are not extreme opposite, but I want to blend in some softness with.
There's so much like care in that. I think that's the femininity comes, right? Like you're like going to hug Like the
Yeah.
face has to feel like your harmonicus.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always like to break the rigidity by introducing softness to the space
Right.
through textures, through again colors, and through.
I'll put you on a second bit of it now. What are the struggles? Because on site there are like these masons and like the clients, the men you're meeting, right? So I've heard like my friends, like if you're working in an architecture firm, and I had to put it out there, and I don't want it to be like this to be like a feminist conversation or anything of that sort, like woke and nothing like that. But then when girls go to site and they talk about, say, you need to change this for mason, they'll not listen. And the architect just walks in, the guy walks in, and they're like, okay, I'll just change.
Yes,
right?
I have faced this. I have faced growing this. I mean, I've grown facing this. So what happens is, imagine they're not listening to you as a person, but when it comes from a power and authority that you have your own studio, how do you make them listen to you, right? It's
Yeah, like, it's so much more difficult, right? So there's another person who can come take care of it, which is not.
they always, when I'm walking with my contractor, they will look up to him. That's the first thing that happens.
And you're the architect.
And you're the designer. That's where a lot of things adds up. Okay, so me as a person has evolved and changed over the last 4 years, and there have been men in my life who have called me bossy.
Oh,
But because you have to understand, right? You have, if you,
No, but
I am
don't
not
show the power. You
Yeah,
don't show
no
that.
one's gonna listen to you.
Nobody is gonna listen.
Like there are 10 men at site who are following me around.
Yeah, I've seen
to-
that video.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
yeah.
I put it out there in the most humorous way I could. There are men following me around, expecting me to, tell them everything, and I have to make sure I command and hold that respect, that authority, and that I know it.
Yeah, 100%.
Confidence plays a big part in it.
Yeah, and if you let go of like for 1 second, then it's gone.
Yeah, and you have to be really cut through the shit. You can't be like, bhaiya, please kar do na.
And that's how we started, right? That's how we
That's
started
how
being
we-
like very humble, like
Yes.
empathetic towards like, are you okay? Like your
No,
day and everything.
doesn't work. Doesn't work. You have to be like, नहीं मुझे पता है ये हो सकता है आप इसको करो.
Huh.
I am sorry, but that
That
has. No, I'm not being disrespectful to them.
correct.
I am getting my work done.
Yeah, but like that's how men also get their work done. But if you do it, it's very different. No?
They call you bossy, right?
Yeah.
But you're not bossy. You're simply
You're
putting
getting
your
your stuff
opinions.
done.
You're simply putting your opinions, strong opinions out there. And it's okay. And you have to be that way. It's not easy to be running a studio. And since it's a very men-centric field, the masons are men, everyone, contractors are men, the vendors are men, like it's all men.
Yeah.
I deal with men day in and day out.
I mean, I've heard like my friends they cried after coming back inside because they just couldn't. Like it's very tiring, exhausting. With like you're managing your business, the design and stuff. 100 other things in your own life, your hormones and whatnot. And then you're like crying ki I have to yell at somebody to get something done. And you don't want to do it.
So I'll tell you an example. What happened with me. So I was working on this project and the contractor tried to scream on me. He tried to tell me that, but it's not in your drawing and, you can't come and tell me this, tell me that. I'm like, listen, everything aside, keep your tone down. That moment, I decided to first tell him consciously that, hey, you're shouting on me and it's not fair. I said it, and that sort of tones them down because they're like, oh, no, this is not what I meant. But first, get them aware. So, whenever you feel like someone's overpowering you, that's work for me.
Yeah.
Try
I
it.
think we have to step up and be like,
You have to, that minute, stop any other discussion and be like, everything aside, talk to me in the way it's respectful.
yeah.
Keep your tone down.
Yeah.
Like, you have to. And it might come across rude. It might be grown up hearing that, right? You have to be soft. You have to be such soft-spoken, hanji girlies.
Yeah.
No. If you have to deal with men like that, I'm not saying all men are like that. There are contractors who are super respectful, super respectful. And but there are going to be people who are going to try to speak louder, who are going to try to be assertive that you are the one who is wrong, even if you're wrong. I'm not saying you have to lie, but at that moment, to make them aware that they're shouting, tell them, keep your tone down.
Yeah. You have to make them aware, say,
Yes.
you're here and this is my project. You better listen to
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
be respectful.
Yeah.
It's not that big a finish. It is not going to blast if you've forgotten one sink in your drawing. It's okay. It can happen. We are human. We are dealing with 100 different things. There can be an error with the positioning of sink, and you might want it somewhere else later. It is doable.
Yeah.
Keep your tone down.
Right.
Very important. So that's how I have grown to be able to tell them to be respectful. You command your own respect. But I have to tell you this, that you can't expect people to come and respect you without doing anything.
Right.
You have to be good at what you do. And for us women, you have to be extra good at what you do.
Yeah, I don't think we have a choice, no, there. That, okay, we'll experiment. I don't think there's experimentation bit is
You have to
there.
be really good at
from the day one.
Yes. You need to hold and command that respect. And
And I have so much respect for women out there and like you as well.
oh, they're killing it.
Yeah, I'm so happy to see
so
them.
much to learn from them, right?
100%.
And
I love the girl bosses. I'm tired of being like this box lady all the time. It's been, because we get tired, right? Yeah, we have a feminine side. We want to be
Yeah,
like this,
when you come-
like oh, soft and all of that. But then, yeah, dude, I respect all of them going out there. Jeez, you've done so much. I love the space which you've created.
thank you.
And yes, it is extremely welcoming and it's very calming and I love the work too.
Thanks. I mean, there's so much to do. There's so much to learn, and you.
And we're so happy to have you learn.
No,
I love it.
I'm happy to have you here too.
Thank you. Thank you.